Yeah, this is starting off good. Well, good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2014. It is a very sunny morning here in Indianapolis. Beautiful 57 degrees. It looks like a great day in weather today, but tomorrow we're expected some storms. See, I'm trying to multitask already. Storms tomorrow. After that, we're supposed to drop down into the upper 60s, lower 70s for quite a while. So it looks like maybe autumn is arriving, which is my favorite time of the year. So looking forward to it. You guys out in Phoenix area with all the flooding that you had yesterday, upwards, I've heard, of 4 inches of rain fell, and you guys just, the ground just cannot absorb all of that fast, and saw extreme flooding going on. So stay safe out there. Looks like hopefully things will get back to normal here, but this winter already, Farmer's Almanac is calling for a worse year than last year, and I know we set record numbers of snowfall, etc. here in Indianapolis, so not quite sure what that's going to entail, but as always, we are trying to stay ahead of it and get prepared now for what comes. Had a load of firewood come in over the weekend, so plan on getting much more. If you're going to wait to the last minute, you're probably not going to find it. I know some peeps up north of us have already said that they can't find it. They're out. That if they do find it, they're wanting a small fortune for firewood. So take it upon yourself to get laid up for some alternative means of heating your home if you need to. Look at ways to self-contain yourself if the power goes down, such as going into an inner room and camping out in your house. It's one of the easiest and fastest ways to keep everyone warmer. Pitch a tent in the middle of an internal room. Little trepidatious when it comes to candle power. Just because we've seen too many homes burn down because of it. So, there are, this is 2014, I think still, yeah. So there are plenty of other ways to heat your home, alternatively, in the wintertime if your power does go out. So, seek that information. Don't just go with, oh my goodness, we got to go back to the oil lamps and stuff like that. Nope. We make things that are actually a lot safer now. So, check into it. So, what's going on out there in the world? Full moon last night. Beautiful harvest moon. I think the last one for the year. And it was very, very bright outside. And I think the sun got a little jealous last night because we had an M flare 4.5 go off last night in a sunspot that we've been watching. Along with that, we had a coronal mass ejection. So I know it was questioned last night whether we need to get everything loaded up into the Faraday cages, but looks like we're still here and we're still responding, so we're still good to go. We might have some awesome northern lights going on, though, so look for those. Also in the news yesterday, they're going to hit us where it hurts. Milk costs more ever to signal higher prices for pizza. So, I know pizza is a staple in a lot of households out there, but they're expecting the rising costs of milk, such as high as 17% of milk production. I totally read that wrong. It says we shipped a record 17% of milk production in the first half of the year. Let's see, in July we dropped 8% from a year earlier, and butter supplies tumbled 42%, and this is from the Department of Agriculture. U.S. dairy costs are higher than world prices, signaling imports will increase, and Lord knows what we get when we get imports, especially when we get stuff from China. Usually we use the first 6 months of the year to build inventory we're going to sell in the last 6 months. And this is from John Spainhour, a partner at Rice Dairy LLC. And people are saying that I know those imports are coming in, but in the meantime, I've got to make sure I've got enough to get on the supermarket shelf. Milk futures for September Settlement rose 0.7% to close at $24.45 per 100 pounds. According to the Chicago Mercantile, used earlier, the Class 3 variety used as cheese benchmark reached a record $24.47. The price just jumped 26% this year. Dairy consumption increases in the North America autumn as U.S. football fans boost pizza orders and bakers need more butter for holiday cakes and pastries. U.S. cheese consumption will rise to a record 4.88 million metric tons in 2014. Milk use will climb to an all-time high of 93.4 million tons. We just didn't build the stocks we needed to, and domestic cheese buyers are still scrambling to build that inventory, Spienhauer said. In July, retail whole milk was $3.65 a gallon, the most for the month since 2011. You know, we've talked about this for quite a while. Now it's hitting us full force in the face. So, you know, if anything, you know, back it up, learn how to make your own cheese. It's really not that hard to do. But I would imagine to see price of your favorite pizzeria increase, so you've been warned ahead of time. So do what you need to do, and you know, if all else fails, buy a goat, buy two. Actually, goat's milk is way better for you than cow's milk. If you follow anything pertaining to your health of your body when it comes to alkaline or acidic foods, cow's milk is very acidic, which is very bad for your body in large doses, and goat's milk is very alkaline. So if you follow anything, I know, you know, both of my parents died from cancer, so I've done a lot of research pertaining to, you know, how your body responds and why and what and where and who and what color and all that kind of stuff. Cancer responds and grows very rapidly in an acidic body. It needs the acid. So alkaline, it doesn't give it the nutrients it needs. So check into that. But just know that goat's milk is a lot better for you than cow's milk. So it might be something that you want to check into. We have two goats ourselves, and they are the cutest, funniest little animals out there. So a lot of fun, along with the fact that they give you product. Just know what you're doing, do some research beforehand and all that, and with the winter coming on, make sure that you have correct housing for them. So what's going on else out there in the news? Ebola is still out there floating around. No chance of it getting better anytime soon, it looks like. And it looks like they're quarantining the entire town now of Sierra Leone, which is always not a good thing. I know we've seen reports of, you know, them running out of food, patients trying to escape the hospitals because they're hungry, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Not a good situation. I know we've been importing several patients here into the United States, and they are spreading them out all over the place. Everybody's concerned about that, including myself. You know, we've seen them in Kansas City now, in Florida. There's a case hit this morning. Miami possibly has a case of Ebola down there. So, you know, again, we'll go back to, you know, are we just looking for Ebola envy or not? But stay safe out there and pay attention to what's going on around you, and avoid the situation, you know, if you can. Let's see. I'm going to click off some screens here so I can back up. Ebola, one other thing, looks like we're sending some troops to West Africa to build a couple treatment facilities in Liberia and Sierra Leone. You know, it doesn't look like our troops are going to stay there once these facilities are built, but who knows what's going on specifically over there. We get force-fed the information only that they want us to know, so definitely something to keep an eye on. But the troops, it says, will establish a 25-bed field hospital in the Liberian capital of Monrovia to care for health workers. is what Steve Warren, Army Colonel, a Pentagon spokesman, said on Monday. But always put our troops in danger. Virus poses particular threat, danger to kids with asthma. So, we've focused on Ebola, but coming in our back door here in the United States, we have a virus. It's not a new virus per se, but it's kicking some butt out there. Hundreds of children across the United States have been hospitalized with a serious respiratory illness. Scientists say they believe the bug to blame is enterovirus D68, also known as EVD68. Enteroviruses are common, especially in September, but this particular type is not, and this is according to Fox 59 News. There have been fewer than 100 cases recorded since it was identified in the 1960s, and now we've seen well over thousands of reported cases. It looks like we're up to 12 states, including Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, Illinois, all the way out to Colorado. For some reason, it looks like it has skipped Indiana so far. But one more good reason, I tell you what, I'm glad I homeschool. Symptoms. What do you need to know? Symptoms of this. The virus usually starts like a common cold. Symptoms include sneezing, a runny nose, and a cough. This is all that happens for most people to catch an enterovirus. But some patients will get a severe cough, have difficulty breathing, or develop a rash. EVD68 is sometimes also accompanied by a fever or wheezing. Those of you with children with breathing issues anyway, such as asthma, you need to pay particular attention to this. You also need to take precaution to keep your children as safe as possible. I mentioned this up on our Pink page the other day, and I'll say it again. Don't wait for those in, and I'm using air quotes here, authority, to tell you what to do. Take it upon yourself. Take the responsibility yourself. If it hits your school and you have a child that has asthma, or you have a child, period, and you hear it's entered into your school, keep your child home. Do what you have to do to keep them safe and healthy. This is no laughing matter. To my knowledge, at this time, I have not heard of anyone dying from it, but I have heard about, it's kicking some butt, and it's miserable. So, do what you have to do, and don't wait for somebody else to tell you what to do. We saw that happen last winter, where parents waited for, schools to shut down, expecting a storm. And, parents sent their kids to school because, they have that fear of, and I've seen it happen personally, you take the responsibility, you don't send your child to school. Before you know it, the school's breathing down your neck. But I'd rather have that to deal with than losing a child for some reason. Like I said, last winter, parents waited for the school to shut down before they decided that they were going to send their kids to school, and we saw thousands of kids in the South get stranded at school because of wrong decision by the school administration is where they're blaming it. So when should you begin to worry about this? Unfortunately, in the beginning, it's difficult, if not impossible, to tell the difference between a regular cold and this type of virus, but there are symptoms you should be on the lookout for if your child becomes sick. Go to the doctor if your child gets a rash or a fever, or if your child has difficulty breathing. Children with asthma or a history of breathing problems are particularly susceptible to severe symptoms. Like I said, we're up to 12 states at this time, ranging all the way from Georgia, North Carolina, all the way out to Colorado. Don't see this going away anytime soon. If anything, I'm sure that there will be a vaccine that's going to come out. Who can get it? Anyone can get infected with enteroviruses, according to the CDC, but infants, children, and teens are more likely to become sick because they have not built up immunity from previous exposures to the virus. You can protect your child because how The respiratory illnesses spread through close contact, just like the common cold. You can also be infected by touching objects or surfaces that have the virus on them and then touching your face. There's not a great deal you can do, health officials say, beyond taking common sense steps to reduce the risk. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Make sure your children understand that. Rule of thumb is sing happy birthday twice. I've seen studies, difference between using cold water and hot water. Don't burn your fingers off. But make sure that at least it's the length of time underwater. And that's just sing happy birthday twice. You need to clean and disinfect surfaces that are regularly touched by different people, such as toys and doorknobs. Avoid shaking hands, kissing, hugging, sharing cups, or eating utensils with people who are sick. And stay home if you feel unwell. Let's see here. I know I've been diffusing some essential oils in the house. I know thieves oil is very good for stuff like this. You can make it yourself or you can buy it pre-made. That choice is yours. I happen to purchase mine through a company called Young Living. If you need information about that, please go onto our website, prepperchicks.org. We have all kinds. We have a link to the website itself. But they have an awesome essential oil plus cleaning products that are thieves oil related. So besides that, I've also been diffusing some other essential oil mixes that are awesome. Actually, to the point my husband came home last night. I've had an oil mix called RC in the diffuser. And my husband came home last night and requested that I turn the diffuser back on because it makes it easier for him to breathe. So, it might be something you want to check into. It's totally up to you. But do what you need to do to keep your family safe and healthy. Again, don't wait for those people in authority to tell you what to do. It's your decision. And pick your battles on that one. So, other things in the news, I think that's quite a bit for now. So, here's a couple more. Home Depot had a security breach. I know a lot of, self-home, fix-it-up people utilize Home Depot a lot. So since April, I guess they've been hacked. Debit and credit cards. 40 million of them have been grabbed. Not a good thing. So, if you've shopped online, it says that you've pretty much been safe. If you shopped in Mexico, you've been safe. But anytime you've been to a brick and mortar, which I've been to our Home Depot quite a few times, it looks like your debit card information or credit card information has been possibly hacked, and they're working on it. So, they're not the first company. We've had a lot of them. Albertsons, Target, Michaels, Neiman Marcus, P.F. Chang's, Super Value have all been hacked recently. Not a good thing. Or is it a step in another direction? Maybe something else can come out that will keep us a little bit safer. You got to watch that kind of stuff. Let me click off a couple more pages. And last thing I want to talk about is ISIS. We've had reports of this Islamic group now in the United States. I know there was a report of a man picked up in Chicago for flying the ISIS flag down the streets there. We've seen it in Texas where they've put the military bases on high alert. Case in West Virginia, Minnesota. So, are they here? I've not seen them personally, but I'd almost guarantee you that they were here. So, situational awareness is key. These are people that like to breed fear, and once you are very fearful, that gives them the upper hand. But for you ladies out there, something I want you to be aware of with this group specifically is the fact that they are forcing female genitalia mutilation overseas right now, specifically in Iraq and the areas that they have recently taken over there. And what is that? It includes the partial or total removal of the female external genitalia or other injury to the female genitalia organs for non-medical reasons. It's practiced in 29 countries in Africa and some countries in Asia and the Middle East. It's an estimated 3 million girls and women worldwide are at risk each year. About 130 million victims estimated to be living with the consequences of this. It is commonly carried out on young girls, often between infancy and the age of 15. Often motivated by beliefs about what is considered proper sexual behavior to prepare a girl or woman for adulthood and marriage and to ensure pure femininity. You have to understand a couple things. Their belief system is a lot different than what a lot of us think about here, and they seem to want to control the world. So we seem to be caught up in a very PC-minded society here, which concerns me. I know that there were reports of, in Germany, a group of people going around branding themselves as the Sharia police. We've heard reports in Dearborn, Michigan, in that area specifically, about the amount of Sharia law being practiced up there. And you just need to be aware of what's going on. A lot of people would think that, oh my goodness, this couldn't happen here in the United States. Well, guess what? It is. Not to the extent that it is in other countries, but their perception specifically of females is a lot different than what we're used to here in the United States. And they see our society here as very demonic. And let's just say, ladies, a lot of times we rely upon the males in our household to take care of us, which, is, a great thing if it can happen. But what happens if they're not around? You need to learn how to defend yourself. It's again, going back to the same mindset with keeping your kids home from school. It's the same mindset. It's your responsibility to protect yourself. Same way goes with, I know there's a lot of fear-mongering going on because this week on Thursday is the anniversary of 9/11. Whether or not who you believe did what, the fact is we've had now a couple incidents on that date. So situational awareness is very important. If we're looking at anything happening here in the United States, they're going to probably hit a lot of soft targets such as schools, malls, stadiums, all those places with a lot of people. So, I'm personally avoiding those kind of places. I do anyways, so that's nothing new. We have a mall here where I live. I think I've been to once since we live here. I can find everything I need outside of there. To me, the mall is just a social gathering place to begin with. There's nothing specific I need there that I can't find someplace else with a whole lot less people. If I do have to get something, I know I think I made it halfway through when my kids drug me there. And it was kind of funny because it's like, oh, this is, I've had enough. There's nothing here that I can't find someplace else. So, other than sitting there watching people. So, the anniversary of 9/11, take it upon yourself to do what you need to do. Keep your family safe. Situational awareness. Pay attention to what's going on out there. I know last week there was a case in Columbus, Ohio of a man threatening a school with an AK-47, supposed of Islamic belief. And then last weekend, we had, or I guess 2 weekends ago, we had, maybe it was last weekend, a case here in Columbus, Indiana, of churches being vandalized with quotes, scripture from the Quran on it. So, are they making themselves known? It's a possibility. So, just, do what you got to do to keep your family safe. I plan on just laying low and staying quiet and observing and watching what's going on. So, more of a gray man technology, or not technology, but mindset. So, a couple things I want to go through. I want to read to you here. A gentleman wrote a book called, and his name is Tim Larkin, awesome guy, How to Survive the Most Critical 5 Seconds of Your Life. So he goes into, why are thugs still winning? You know, and we see this here every day. We've seen it in the news lately with these hordes of kids, even teenagers that are going around harming people. There was an employee of Kroger's that was just beat up here recently because this large group, probably, I'm going to estimate maybe 30 teenagers attacked him and just beat him up because they had nothing better to do, I guess. But that same mindset's been going around. So why are the thugs still winning? The reason thugs are still using violence and still winning certainly isn't that they're smarter. It isn't even that they're stronger. Many people who get beaten up and robbed on the streets every day are fitter and stronger than their drug-addicted assailants. The reason muggers win is that they have power. They know what they want, and they know that if they use every violent means at their disposal, they'll get it. They know that if they pull out a knife, you're going to get scared. If they put a gun to your head, you're going to freeze. If they threaten to kill you, you'll give them anything they demand. They understand how to use violence in order to cause the effect they want to achieve. Am I advocating that same approach? No. Learning how to use violence doesn't turn you into a criminal. It changes the balance of power. When you are proficient in the use of this simple system, instead of a threat from a violent stranger causing you to suffer pain, loss of life, or even to suffer pain, loss, or even death, you will be able to cause serious injury to the man, resulting in his complete incapacitation. You will understand that if you injure a man in a certain way, you can precisely predict the result. Instead of doubt preventing you from taking action, you'll have the confidence to make the split-second decisions you need to stay alive during the most stressful seconds of your life. When you've undergone this sort of training, you'll have the power to protect yourself and those you love. In violent conflict, there are no rules. Remember that. No part of the body is out of bounds, and there are no gloves to soften the blows. Violence isn't like the choreographed dance moves you see on TV shows and movies. Each side doesn't take turns to swing and parry. One side strikes and the other side gets injured, and usually the side that causes the first serious injury wins. When you know how to use violence as a survival tool, you'll be the one doing the striking, the one causing the injuries. Criminals are not in it for competition. They are committed to a radically different idea, injuring people. In the society we live in, the focus for the law-abiding citizen has been on learning how to keep violence from happening to us, how to deal with a violent attack, how to keep a serial rapist at bay, how to keep the minimum safe distance, how to break the hold and run away. The Marad techniques available all claim to work, yet never caused debilitating trauma. It's easy to see why you'd want to know hundreds of different ways to keep someone from hurting you. Yet each and every technique you learn has you struggling to survive without the surety of success the criminal enjoys. The criminal doesn't succeed because he knows how to deal with violence. He succeeds because his specialty is dealing out violence. Remember, we talk about the flipping the switch, and the criminal, the person that's trying to harm you, already lives in that reality. They already live and have contemplated that violence in their head. You know, it's hard for someone that wants to be a good person, that tries to live their life every day as a better person, to get into that mindset. And that's the breakdown right there. And that right there gives them the advantage over us, is the time lapse between us getting into that mindset. Usually it takes a few good, smacking around to realize that, these people are serious. So the faster that you can get into that mindset, the better. Try, if you can, trying to sensitize yourself. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there that you can watch and see brutal attacks. They've got plenty. They were just showing, like I said, this Kroger employee that was beat up over the weekend, and what happened to him. Study these things. We've been taking some, I would call it street fighting classes with our family to teach our kids this stuff from a gentleman here in Indianapolis. And it's kind of a gathering of all different teachings, mostly Kali Kempo kind of stuff. But, this gentleman looked at, the different techniques out there and brought it all together to what makes sense to protect yourself when you're out there. And he's an advocate of, if someone, threatens you, you go full force in, and it's your advantage that you strike first, and you strike hard, and you fight to win, and you don't back down. So it's been an interesting learning process, that's for sure. But this world that we live in seems to be getting more violent every day. And ladies specifically, it's our responsibility. Nobody else's to protect ourselves. A lot of times we're by ourselves when these things happen. So another book of his that I just got that I'm reading through, it's called Survive the Unthinkable, A Total Guide to Women's Self-Protection. If you can pick up the books, a lot of great information in there. But Chapter 3 talks about your most powerful weapon. Imagine that you've fallen into a pool. What's your first instinct? Would you let yourself sink underwater and wait for a lifeguard to come get you? Or would you know what to do to save your own life? Obviously, you would swim. Using the principles that he's going to teach you in this book to safeguard your well-being is no different from learning to swim, which you should think of doing as a precaution against drowning. Once you've learned the basics, you're set. You won't feel anxious about pools. You won't keep your fingers crossed at night and hope to avoid them. You have attained a basic competency and a life skill that gives you the security of knowing that if you fall into a pool, you'll be better able to swim. You may never compete in the Olympics, but then you don't need a gold medal to keep your head above water. Most people don't apply the same common sense approach toward their safety on dry land. We live in a society that seems safe on the surface, so no one wants to think about what lies underneath unless they are forced to. People are afraid of violence. They're afraid of experiencing it. So much so that many people have no response at all when they do encounter it. They fall into the pool and they sink. I know this because many of my clients come to me after something bad has already happened to them. They tell me how they froze or how their mind went blank. Often by sheer luck, these people survived, but I don't want you to put your personal safety in the hands of luck. I want you to take that power into your own hands, and that starts with trusting yourself and your instincts. As a woman, you possess the world's most powerful predator detection system, your female intuition. Yet most women spend most of their lives oblivious to its power. Serious apprehension in your gut, that queasy, oh my God kind of feeling, is the result of a primitive part of your brain reading and interpreting danger signals. That could be one of the signals that let you know your attacker is lethal. One of the most common questions I hear is, how will I know when it's a real threat and really time to act? It's not going to be with you at that moment. Only you will be able to decide if a real threat exists. That's why before you learn the physical techniques of self-protection, your task is to reacquaint yourself with and to learn to trust and use your gut instincts, your strongest and most reliable weapons in the fight against predators. When was the last time you put a knife to someone's neck and demanded their watch? You've never done this? Then you don't think like a predator. That's a good thing, surely, but it also illustrates a vital point. Someone who would do such a thing doesn't think like you. They aren't playing by the same social rules you are, and so you can't react as if they are. You have probably considered one or more of the following. If I am ever attacked, I will just try to reason with them and give them what they want. Surely they will go away. If I am attacked, I will scream at the top of my lungs and never get in a car with them. If I am attacked, I will pretend that my boyfriend is on the phone with me. I always carry my cell phone in my hand for that very purpose. I won't be attacked because I carry pepper spray in my purse. I have no idea what I would do if I was attacked. You've probably been told that your options are to defend yourself by screaming to attract attention, running away, talking him down, or pretending you have a male friend who's just out of sight. But during a truly violent encounter, you have only about 5 seconds to act, and the things mentioned above won't save your life against a predator. Real-life danger is not an old-fashioned melodrama, with you being tied to railroad tracks as a train is coming, and your only choice is to shout for help and hope for someone to rescue you. Shouting isn't going to stop the train, and you don't have time to wait for a hero. When seconds count, you need to save yourself from a physical assault. Your primary goal is to teach yourself to listen to your intuition the first time, before you say goodbye to your friends, before you get on the elevator. Respecting your intuition strengthens it like a muscle. If you learn to listen to your intuition the very first time it sends out a warning signal, you will not only avoid most dangerous places, but also instantly recognize and respond to the need to act if you're in a situation you couldn't avoid. You'll trust yourself, and you will take down that threat. Here's another way women have the edge over men from a survival standpoint. Studies show that women are much more likely than men to seek medical attention soon after they start feeling not quite right or notice a symptom of some kind. Similarly, women are more likely to ask for directions before they get lost, as opposed to men who often wait until the bitter end. What's behind this phenomenon? Probably ego. Most men hate to admit they are fallible or that something could be wrong with them. Most women, on the other hand, don't take it as a sign of weakness when they need help medically or navigationally. They know that something isn't quite right and aren't afraid to speak up to make sure they're on the right track. I'd like you to ponder that for a moment and then apply it to what we've discussed so far. Using your intuition is your first and best chance to avoid the unthinkable. As a woman, you are more likely to be hardwired for early avoidance. You win when you play to your strengths. Remember that. And let's talk about some intuition building exercises you can use to help you start valuing this critical ability. When you learn to spot predatory tendencies, you strengthen your intuition. When you strengthen your intuition, you create healthy emotional and physical boundaries. When you have those boundaries, you can more easily avoid predators. And when you can't avoid predators, using the tools of violence helps you destroy them. How many of the women felt physically uncomfortable around or threatened by a man within the prior 48 hours? Every time, you can agree with that. The guys in the class are visibly shocked to learn this. As a woman, here's what might visibly shock you. Men can go for months, even years, without giving a thought to their physical safety. Some try in vain to recall the last time they got shoved against the wall or had a swing taken at them. Keep in mind, I don't ask the class whether a man put his hands on them. I ask, when was the last time a man made you feel so uncomfortable you were glad just to get the hell away from him? That's when the hands go up and the stories begin. Women tend to be good at recognizing creeps because they pick up cues that many men are oblivious to. Most experts believe that women have better intuition for some key biological and evolutionary reasons. First off, women have a more highly developed ability to understand the subtle meanings behind people's body language, their gestures, expressions, and tones of voice. This skill probably developed in response to childbearing to allow them to use nonverbal cues to determine their baby's needs. The two sides of a woman's brain are also better integrated, having more neural connections between the left and the right hemispheres than there are in men. That makes women better able to quickly pick up on patterns and hidden meanings that men may see as random details. Another factor at play is the huge number of neutrons, a type of brain cell that live in your gastrointestinal tract. It's not your imagination, your gut instinct, that butterfly feeling you get when you're excited, or that stomach clenching that happens when you're dreading something, is actually your second brain, as the gut is called, telling you to pay attention. Your heart also has millions of neutrons, and research suggests that the heart reacts more quickly to stimulating circumstances than the brain does. Women have been proven to be better at keying in their body sensations. So if you can learn to trust them, you have a tremendous leg up. Helen Fisher is a PhD of biological anthropologist at Rutgers University, also cites women's typical interest in other people as a huge asset in the development of intuition. Fisher contends that as women collect observations about, interactions with, and assessments of people, they develop a tendency she calls chunking. The ability to detect patterns or chunks of behavior. Recalling these chunks in later interactions helps them quickly figure out the subtext of a situation or identify a threat without having to wade through all the details to come to the same conclusion again. If you've been abused before, you will be highly attuned to signals of danger. The trick is not to block out that predatory experience, but rather to use it to recognize the signals, not freeze, and tap into your specialized life skills to keep yourself safe. All of these innate traits and tendencies are just waiting to be honed. Try some of these exercises that will help you strengthen your intuition muscle. Once you're connected with that inner warning signal, you'll be ready to move on to learning the physical techniques for self-protection. Because ultimately, it's what you do with that information that counts. Number one, practice people watching. At its root, your intuition is partially your subconscious ability to recognize something your conscious thoughts haven't caught up with yet. Say you're walking down a street and out of the corner of your eye you register that a guy is sitting in a car with the engine running, or that he's sitting in the car and the engine is not running. Your brain picks up on all those details and quickly chunks them together with other details in the environment. The better you get at noticing small details about people and your surroundings in a complex situation, the more network together you'll have in your intuition database. Situational awareness. Number two, be a part-time social scientist. Perch on a park bench or grab a seat at the outdoor cafe or in the food court at the mall. Watch people go by and really look at details. What kind of shoe is he wearing? Is she wearing an appropriate coat for the weather? Is he wearing a wedding ring? How quickly is she walking? Create scenarios about where people are going, what they're shopping for, how happy they are in their relationships or in their jobs. The focus here is not to try to be accurate. You'll never know whether you are, but just to practice noticing a level of detail that might give you critical information someday. Number three, study facial expressions. While no one can truly read minds yet, well, that's questionable, the ability to read people's faces can be a very useful skill when building up your database. Researchers have postulated that humans share 7 basic emotions: happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, disgust, anger, and contempt. These emotions correspond to very specific facial expressions, micro expressions, which are these expressions when they flit involuntarily across your face in about 1/15 of a second, are important clues for recognizing who's a threat. Psychologists have found that women are better at registering lightning-fast shifts in facial microexpressions. One of the most important expressions to look for is contempt, which is characterized by a sneer. Criminals often show tremendous contempt for their victims. Contempt is a feeling that comes from despising or not respecting someone. Being able to spot a look of unconscious contempt on another person's face can give you a heads up that they don't respect you. Beyond spotting contempt to avoid danger, being able to identify others' emotions quickly is a handy life skill that greatly enhances your intuition. You can practice spotting microexpressions at websites such as face.paulekman.com and humintell.com. Go check out those two websites. The next one is Make It a Game. I once knew a daughter of a mafia enforcer who grew up around violence. She'd seen some pretty horrific things as a child, and she was no stranger to brutality. Violence was just a part of her life. I didn't have to explain the premise of my system to her. She got it right away. She had lived it. When it came time to have her own kids, she made sure they understood the basics of violence prevention from an early age. She didn't do it to scare them. She did it because, based on who they were, there was a very good chance they might encounter it at any time. But she managed to make it fun for them, starting when they were about 4 years old. Whenever they pulled into a bank drive-thru, she would say, "Okay, who can tell me all the people in the parking lot for me?" Or, "Who was on lookout in the front seat? How about the back seat?" This game not only served a practical purpose for her, giving her extra sets of eyes when her back was turned, but also let her teach them the foundation of self-protection, which is awareness. And the last one, meditate for 10 minutes each day. This might sound a little fluffy for a self-defense expert to suggest, but developing a practice of meditation can help you stay safe for many reasons. First off, consistent meditators tend to be more attuned to details in their moment-to-moment existence. Rather than wandering around in a daze on autopilot, which is a predator's dream, you see the people, just functioning, or they got their nose stuck in their phones, or, just not paying attention. Meditators are present and tend to be more connected to their senses, which are the conduits for essential information about dangerous situations. Also, meditators' brains give them greater conscious control over their instinctive emotional reactions. Let me try that again. Meditators' brains give them greater conscious control over their instinctive emotional reactions. They're less likely to freeze up in scary situations because they are in touch with their base instinctual emotions such as fear. They're not ruled by them. Meditators practice noticing their thoughts and emotions in a way that give them easy access to them all the time, a critical skill in those moments when fleeting thoughts matter. So, practice those. Practice situational awareness. Think about what you would do in certain situations. Even if, you don't want to, I've said it before, think about you're lying in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, your husband has gone to work. And this works both ways for men and women. But put yourself in the situation. Your spouse has gone to work, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, you're home alone, you wake up to someone sitting over top of you that you don't know. Obviously, they weren't invited, and obviously they mean to harm you. What would you do? What happens, it's that time of the year, you go Christmas shopping, you're in the mall, and an actor's shooter scene happens. Do you know where your exits are at? Same way in a restaurant. when you first sit down. It doesn't take long to do once you get into the habit of it. Because I get asked all the time, well, you're just paranoid. It's like, no, but I know where all the exits are at. I know what things around me I could use to block something if I need to. If there's an active shooter, I know what can be used for concealment versus what can be used for protection. If a fire happens, what are my options? Can I get out of there? And how would I do that? How would I keep my family together? But, if there's any good reason, I guess, to go to a mall, it is to people watch and to look at their expressions and put those scenarios together. So, definitely a social experiment that would be a good thing to go to a mall for a change. But, so we've got lots coming up this next week. And I'm going to get ready to tune out here and get on to my day job. But situational awareness this week, please. Wednesday, some storms through the Midwest. Just a heads up, we got to drop from the temps somehow, and usually that involves storms. And then we should be into the realms of fall. September the 11th is on Thursday. Like I said, it's been reported that ISIS is in the United States. If you can at all costs avoid large social settings such as, stadiums and malls if possible. Those would be easy targets. Keep your kids safe. We've got this virus going around. Don't wait for someone else to tell you what you need to do as a parent to keep them healthy and safe. It's your responsibility. And practice some situational awareness. When you are out grocery shopping, my husband and I do this all the time. Even grocery shopping, or we're sitting in the doctor's office or the dentist or wherever, what would you do if this happened? We're sitting in the doctor's office, and after my husband has gone through all of their drawers in there to see what they have, which I'm sure a lot of people do, but we'll sit there. What happens if you hear shooting at the front desk? How would you escape? A lot of people don't realize that drop ceilings, those walls that you think are so sturdy in the doctor's office, jump from room to room. All you have to do is go up through the drop ceiling and over the side. Look at the windows. Could you escape through the windows if you had to? A lot of the doctor's offices out there now seem to have double pane thick glass. And it's going to be darn near impossible to break that and leave that way if you had to. What items around you can you use for concealment? What items can be shot through that you might not want to use to protect yourself with? How do you keep your family safe through all of this? We had last night I gave Dixon a bath, and he's a Great Pyrenees. So it was interesting. Let's just say that by the time I was done, I had more water on me than he had on him. But my son took him back out to where he stays with the goats when we were done, and didn't latch the latch quite right, and he decided to go visit the neighbors in the middle of the night. And there's nothing that gets your heart beating faster than getting a knock on your door and your doorbell going off in the middle of the night. So, definitely, handguns were out and precautions were being taken. But something that we looked at last night was, you've got a front door somebody's beating on. Who's watching the back door? So definitely some stuff that everybody needs to think about. But please, this week, when you're out and about doing what you got to do to live your life, pay attention to what's going on around you. Keep yourself out of situations if at all possible. If your gut instincts, the hair rises on the back of your neck, happens, trust yourself, trust your intuition, and leave the situation. Leave the vicinity if at all possible. But I will see you later tonight on Prepper Chicks After Dark to play some of these scenarios out and see what other people would do. So, what is it? 14 hours from now. You guys have a great day. and I will see you later tonight.